Hi everyone, Vladimir is here with our multi-platform game development tutorial. So in our previous lesson, we have actually made an appearance of our enemy and our player much more smoother and much more prettier. So what about the exit? I think it's right about times that we should make the player exit when the game ends in his victory. So today we're going to implement the movement of the player from his field to the next end of the field. This is to make the game look like he's going somewhere. For example, advancing to the next level, which we are going to tackle in the next lessons. So, without further ado, let me switch to my desktop camera. And I think first thing that we need to do is to declare two variables for our player class, just to indicate that we have been winning the game and the player should make different actions. It should be false by default because nobody is winning right at the start, except for Charlie Sheen maybe. And the win time, we will need to record the time when we won so that the player will also be able to move smoothly towards the end of the screen. And I think we need to add the extra condition in our draw function. It starts to get bloated, but I don't think it's the right time to move towards refactoring right now. So we need to make a condition that if the player is marked as winning, we also need to take the variable t, and if time alive minus win time is lesser than approach time, let's make an approach time. Yeah, we already have approach time variable. So the same thing as the player approaches, 0.5 seconds. The player is going to leave in 0.5 seconds. So t is time alive minus win time divided by approach time, and then we simply square it for the easing, as we discussed before. So let's take the initial coordinate of our player. So the player is definitely standing on the base, and we should set the position of the player to our initial coordinate, base coordinate, plus adding the extra movement that has happened in this time. So we should make a different function in our size evaluator, which will return the right corner of the screen. This is where the player is going to move. Get right side x minus fx. We need to subtract the base player coordinates so that the player will be sure to start at the fixed position of fx, of the base that he was standing. Otherwise the player would be starting at the left side of the screen, and we don't want it. And the y actually is kept the same way as we had before. Get base screen y. We're not changing the y coordinate, we're just using it. So after that, we need to adjust the size evaluator. As you can see, we don't have the function get right side x. So put the cursor there, press Alt, Enter, and create the getter. The getter will automatically create a new function in our size evaluator class, which will return the right size x, which will automatically be initialized now. But as you understand, we need to initialize the value of the right side x somewhat. So let's adjust our constructor, which will pass the right side x value and assign it properly. But what about resizing? When our screen resizes, we will want to, it stretches. So we also need to update the right size x value. So we need to make a simple function for that. Set right size x float. Let's name this float as value, and right side x equals value. So this is the manipulation of the right side of the screen where the player will need to get eventually. After that, we just simply adjust the game screen code, which, as you remember, initializes the size evaluator. So we need to pass the game stage get width. This will pass the stage's rightmost position. And we also need to take care of the resize function. As you remember, we have the resize going on. We need to set the size evaluator, set right side x as our game stage new value of width. So this should take care of it. After that, we also need the way to tell the player class that the game has been won. So in our player method, we actually need to add something to mark it victorious. So the simple function, which will also be called mark victorious, which will say that our player is winning. Winning equals true, and we need to record the time of the win. So win time equals time alive. This is the time that the player has been alive at the moment. And to adjust it, we will need to adjust the game logic. But one thing, as you remember in our game screen, if we check the update function, we're not actually updating the logic if the player's lives, if the enemy lives are less than 0. So at the current setup, if the enemy dies, the logic is not being updated well. Let's fix that. We just make the update function very simple and handle the nuances inside of the logic's update function. Go to game logic, open the update function. The shortcut is Ctrl B, by the way. If you put the cursor here, press Ctrl B, it moves you automatically. And we need to actually check for stuff here. So the condition, we're moving from the game screen. If player get lives are greater than 0 and enemy lives are greater than 0, we update the enemy, that's for sure. We update our effect engine only then. This is our warnings that precede the attack. We don't need them when we won, but we definitely update the game time all the time, and we definitely update the player all the time. So this should do the trick. And also, the only thing that is left is to mark the player victorious. So we need to adjust the enemy take damage, the spot where the enemy takes damage. This is our assigned player position function. When the player picks attack bonus, deals damage to an enemy, we need to check if the enemy is dead to say that we won. So if enemy get lives is less or equals 0, we need to mark our player as a victor. After that, let's run the game and see what is going on. It's starting. Let's just try to defeat the enemy real fast, but real fast will not work because the enemy has 10 lives. Also, I have some ideas for adjustments because, as you can see, well, the warning signs are appearing quite slowly. You can simply just go and pick bonuses. There not much challenge. I think we should reduce the time before the warning sign triggers. And you see, I'm picking the sword, which will damage the enemy, and we will win the game. Hope. As you have seen, the player left the screen, and after victory, we will be able to use it for the next screens when the player appears, and make it so that the player travels through the dungeon or through the rooms or something like that. This is it for today's lesson. Thank you for watching. I'm going to commit the changes and leave the link in the video below. And see you next time. Vladimir is out. Cheers!